Welcome to the True Body Intelligence Podcast. My name is Christopher Lee Maher. What we're going to get into today is what I consider the most essential step in a true transformational process. And that is transmuting your mother and father's or any one of your caregivers' limiting beliefs, inner deficiencies, insecurities, and fears that were absorbed by you in your precognitive state of function between womb and 13 years old. That is the most essential step in a true transformational experience. Let's get after it.
And we're back to talk about the most important part of transmutation. What are we adding?
So the most essential step in a truly transformative process is transmutation. Transmuting what, right? There's two things. Anyone who has experienced blunt force trauma, and what I mean by blunt force trauma is anyone who's broken their boundaries or they've been in some type of like really intense accident. And breaking someone's boundaries could be bullying, right? That could be physical violence, like domestic violence of any kind, parent to child, child to sibling, husband to wife, wife to husband, any one of those dynamics, plus any level of sexual stress, molestation, or rape. These are things that have to be transmuted first before you do anything, before you even get to mom and dad. Because those experiences are the ones that are blocking you from getting to the center point of your breath, which means you'll never truly ever be in a peaceful state of trusting receptivity. And if you can't be in that state, how are you ever going to build honesty and rapport with another human to develop in a very powerful exchange in a relationship that fulfills you, right? Without that, what you're going to be pushing up against is frustration, agitation, fear, and distrust, right? So this system that we use for that is body of light, transmutative meditations. And I spent an episode on this, yet I never went into the essential steps of why this is the most important. So you transmute first any level of deep state trauma that you're aware of, right? Now, sometimes people come to me and things happen to them when they were younger that they suspect that they have no actual memory, but they have all the behaviors associated with someone who went through that kind of trauma. And so then we'll go through that process and we'll transmute whatever they think it is. And the next thing you know, their life changes. Because now they can be at that center point of receptivity, which means now they can receive from the world, right? They can get that support that they want. They can get that love they want. They can get that affection that they're craving at a deep emotional level. Once you transmute those deep traumas, now the next step, the most essential step, is transmuting the limiting beliefs, the inner deficiencies, the insecurities, and the fears of your caregivers. Everyone had a different circumstance. Some people were raised in an orphanage. Other people were raised by mom and dad. Other people were raised by a grandparent. Other people were raised by a sibling. Whoever was raising you, their insecurities, limiting beliefs, inner deficiencies, and fears energetically at an emotional level were being modeled by you at a deep unconscious and subconscious level. And remember, we went over this before. Your conscious mind is like a tiny grain of sand. Your unconscious is analogous to a 55-gallon drum of sand. Your subconscious is analogous to all of the sand on earth And your superconscious is analogous to all the sand in the universe, meaning the potential amount of intelligence and information that this aspect of yourself possesses. So, as you transmute your caregivers' limiting beliefs, insecurities, inner deficiencies, and fears out of your system, you're no longer loyal at an unconscious and a subconscious level to, again, their fears, their insecurities, their inner deficiencies, and their limiting beliefs. So now you're free to do what? To take a risk. And what's the biggest risk you can ever take? Heartfelt action to your own benefit. That's the riskiest action for everyone. Like, what do you mean? Like, do something that's good for me? Like, ridiculously good? In a place where I'm sabotaging and defeating myself? Maybe you defeat yourself with food. Maybe you defeat yourself with movement. Maybe you defeat yourself with communication. Maybe you defeat yourself with an inability to take any risk, right? Maybe you play small. Maybe you withdraw. Whatever it is that you do, whatever your strategy is that you employ, that strategy was made up by a child in a precognitive state of function. And do you really want your 5-year-old wounded child running your life? Is that what you want? If that's what you want, forget transmutation, okay? If what you want is to put him in the back seat, okay, in the child protective seat, rather than steering your car, then the transmutative meditation is the most essential step in a truly transformative experience. And I could get deeper into this, but I already gave you an education on transmutative meditations. I wanted to revisit this a little bit before we complete on this cycle of information and, my passion and my contribution to your life. I want to make sure that you understand that the two most essential pieces are the ones we mentioned at the very end. Transmuting your blunt force trauma that you experience, and then your caregivers, so that you can break your loyalty, meaning create a successful pattern interrupt, so you can create your own patterns and figure out who is Susie in relationship to money. Who is Susie in relationship to family? Who is Susie in relationship to education, sexuality, religion, politics? Who am I? And then once you understand who you are, now you know what your values are. And when you understand your values and who it is you really are, manifestation is very simple. When you have no sense of who you are and no sense of your true values, manifestation is very difficult. And there's so much abundance on planet Earth. I believe there's enough here for everyone to have a great time. Experiencing the experience of experiencing. I believe everyone has a right to have that at a very minimum.
What a beautiful place to call it an end for this chapter.
Yeah.
And just to remind people that they can go to truebodyintelligence.com and get all the education and the book and everything that you taught us in these chapters. And it's also going to be available on all major platforms, like we said.
Yeah, look, take a risk, go to the website. The book is $34.99. That's nothing, right? That's like a cheap steak in Tennessee, okay? So your life expression versus the cost of a steak. I think it's probably a good idea to spend the cost of a steak and get some help, right? Get some information. Hopefully you'll be inspired by my story and information that I put in the book. I also put at the very end a chapter that allows you to go over all the major bullet points. And then I also put in there 6 different healing integrations that you can access and use before you go to sleep. So the next day when you wake up, you have a great day. Yes, like it's packed full of punch. It's a weird thing to end on, yet we're going to end there. Thank you for tuning in to today's content. This will be made available in its full form of everything we put together for you at truebodyintelligence.com. And at truebodyintelligence.com, you can tune into my book, Free for Life, a U.S. Navy SEAL's unique journey to inner freedom and outer peace. And there I will teach you at a much deeper level. And this will be really, really, really good reference tool for you. Plus, the audiobook has an opportunity to allow you to start the program already by purchasing the one with the energetic integrations, and that will help you get started. All of this content will also be available on all major platforms: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, and YouTube.